And I bet you if you go up to him afterwards and ask him about specific ones, probably can tell you where he shot it. Because every picture there, he has a memory in it. It's like we have memories of events, of people, all these things. And I think I have already done something similar to this, but that was with my husband's blanket. And I showed you pieces of my blanket. And I want to start down. So, I made this blanket because we had so many t-shirts that we couldn't possibly wear anymore. But all of these t-shirts have a story with them. And I'm going to tell you about this t-shirt today. That was a t-shirt that my best friend in Germany gave me. And my memory with her is, not only have we been friends for a long, long time, but she was my best friend because she helped me out in a situation that I don't wish anybody in. I had, how old were you? 12. I was a little older than you, and I had a really big surgery on my ankle. And I mean, come on, I was 14 at the time. And you know how you like to run and play and all this. Now you imagine that somebody tells you, sorry, but for the next year, you're benched. You're not doing anything. It's horrible. And not just that, I got this really weird contraption around my leg because they said, I have to move my ankle, but I wasn't allowed to put any weight on it. Because it was such a long period of time, I had this thing on my leg, and on the other foot, because they didn't want me to go all crooked and get my spine out of alignment and all this, I had soles put on my shoe that were this thick. So, I was taller, yay, but trust me, I'd rather have worn heels than that thing. So, I was 15 by that time. My surgery was 2 days before my birthday. Well, great crowd. And after the 2 weeks that I was in the hospital and then at home, and I had this thing, and I was all depressed because at home I had to use crutches because, well, anyway. So, but my mom told me, you have to get used to this thing because you're going to go back to school, you're going to have to do all these things, you can't always use the crutches. When you have to carry something. So my girlfriend calls me, and she said, let's go downtown. I'm like, yeah, right, crazy girl. I ain't going nowhere with this thing. She's like, well, you have to go out sometime. You can't hide for the next year. So I wore a really long skirt and tried to hide everything, and we're walking. And you still saw all these people that walked past us, and they looked at me. Oh, it felt so bad. I mean, I had this purple hair or something, you know, I wanted everything else except them looking at this. But that's what it was. You know what my girlfriend did? She's like, that's a cool thing, isn't it? Really loud, so these people would hear. And I had to laugh so hard. And that's what we did all day. We walked around town, sat down for a while because it hurt. And she would make fun of all these people looking funny at me. And that is one of my very dearest memories of my girlfriend. I've known her since I was 10, so since your age. And we still are friends, even though she lives back in Germany and I live here. And when I don't feel good or when there's something that's really weird, every once in a while I remember this going downtown with my girlfriend all, it's rude to stare. Your mom and dad told you that, right? It's rude to stare at people. And then if something is not like it normally is, then it's doubly rude. Okay, we know that. Why did they? And but it was a bad situation, and she helped me. Now, what the story is all really about is that you guys need to make memories already. You need to make memories that you can collect like a blanket. You need to make memories with things that God did for you. Because sometimes you're going to be down and out because you pray for something really hard and God is not going to answer the way you want him to answer. Because he knows more than we do. So even though he's not answering the way you want him to, he still is answering. So sometimes we need the memories of this really cool birthday present we got. Or when we were down and out in church and we were sad and somebody came and gave us a hug. We need those memories that we know that God does remember us and God is always there for us. If we don't make those memories, and this is something for the grown-ups too, we need to help these little ones to make those good memories. Because if we didn't have those memories here in church with all of our brothers and sisters, I don't think we would be here anymore. If we don't have good memories with our church family, with God, it's not always easy. So, make those memories. Sometimes it's a memory where you're the one giving hugs. Where you're the one who's helping somebody else, but it makes you feel good. Okay, let's say a quick prayer and then we'll get back to this. Father, we want to thank you that we have this wonderful church that we can be in with all these uncles and aunts and moms and dads and grandmas and grandpas that help us make these memories with them and with you to help us when we are not so happy. And I pray that you are going to be with these little ones for the next week. Amen.
Amen. Yes.
Church has been set up. Somebody's got a microphone for me to put on. I don't know how to run that. I didn't even always have keys to the churches that I preached at. I mean, you look at so much of what's happened behind the scenes. We couldn't have church without the people that were doing things behind the scene, without the dedication of those around there. And how many times do we always forget to stop and say thank you for that? Today, I'll tell you right now, whoever are all the people that are behind the scenes that we haven't said thank you to, let me just say thank you right now for making this happen, for giving us a chance to have a look at Jesus here today. So the mom, that was the first character in there. Like I said, she wasn't listed, but I think it's a vital role. Second, now I'm going to say Jesus twice, 2 times, because he's got 2 different roles. Same person, but he does 2 things here. Number 1, he gives the challenge. People are getting hungry, they're stirring, and he's like, how are we going to feed the people? Go buy bread, feed the people. This has to happen. He gives the challenge. Phillip, he's kind of the realist of the group, right? Okay, he's the guy. I kind of connect with Phillip at this point in time, right? What does he say? We can't do this. Do you see how many people there are? If we spent a year's salary, it'd be enough to feed them 1 bite. You have the boy who represents generosity. Generosity is really important in the church, I think. This one day I was teaching a class, and I was talking to a group of boys off to the side, and we were talking about daily devotions, connecting with God, how you do this. And I was telling them I had read about a 1-minute Bible for students. I really had. I read about this 1-minute Bible for students. It's based on being able to read a minute a day and like working your way through the Bible. But then you say that's not very much reading. But if you take a teenager who doesn't read the Bible, introduce them into that, and then it has the connected Bible verses to that, so if they want to do additional reading, they can grab some right across the bottom. It's listed there. You can pull those out and you can read the rest. I thought this would be a great experiment to try how to do this. And I was rolling this around in my head when a parent had walked in, was a parent of one of the girls in the class, and I was talking with the guys, and she said she was so thankful for what was happening in the class. And I started telling her about, I'm thinking, how could I get these 1-minute Bibles in the hands of these boys? And just like that, she said, I'll do it. I'll have a check in today, and you order the Bibles as soon as you can and give them to the boys. And I gave them out, and the most interesting thing about it, there's 10 Bibles. I ordered 10 Bibles, $10 a Bible. If you want to figure out how much she gave, you can. 10 Bibles. I gave them out to 10 boys. A year later, 3 of the boys gave me their Bibles back with it done. Now, I don't know how you look at it, because you could say, well, that's like a 30%. That's a failing grade. You could give me that one, which would be true. But before that, I don't think any of the 10 were reading their Bible. So I felt pretty good about that, finding something that worked. We move on to the next character would be Andrew. I like Andrew because he comes up with solutions, right? Here's bread, here's fishes. What can we do with that? Not necessarily a great answer, but then you have Jesus. He's the deliverer. He's going to make this happen. Ultimately, you've got people who hear the problem. They want to solve the problem. They can't solve the problem. They make an attempt that isn't going to work to solve the problem. They're generous about trying to solve the problem, but the problem is beyond them. And then you have God. And he does what God does. The next question that we want to ask, did we find anything new? Was there anything new in you as you looked over this that you'd never encountered before. And there was. I found something new, and I was excited about this. My wife told me I was too excited about this, so I might be sorry to you guys about this, but I was excited about this, and that is that there is a new group of theologians that are looking at this miracle as a direct, I bet you haven't heard this before, but this miracle as a direct correlation with the Ark of the Covenant. So that's an Old Testament, New Testament kind of leap that doesn't get made very often. And so the deal is we're going to talk about we're going to go to the Old Testament, we're going to talk about the Ark of the Covenant for a few minutes. So this ark comes out. We know it sits in the most holy place of the tabernacle, and we can talk about that, but I don't want to get distracted by that. I want to talk about what the primary purpose was. This ark represents God to a group of people who have been slaves for years. And during their time of slavery, they weren't always allowed to worship their own God, and many of their beliefs were lost. So you're dealing with a God who is reintroducing himself to his people. And he puts three things in the ark that will connect directly to this story. If we can play with it a little bit, it'll work. The first thing that goes into the ark that represents that represents God, Christ, is Aaron's staff. So he had a staff, and what was significant about Aaron's staff is a dead limb, right? I mean, a dead piece of tree. But his staff was different in the fact that it blossomed. And that shows us a side of God where we say he can bring life from death. He can offer healing. Now, we struggle with this. I struggle with this. I can go back to my first church as a youth pastor. And I remember teaching the youth class one day when an elder came in and he said, I want to ask a favor of this youth group. And he said, I found out that I have cancer. And I can't have this. And I feel like if I had a group of students that would just lay their hands on me and pray, God would have to hear that. And that's what he wanted. And he asked the kids to, and they did. They gathered around and they prayed. And I thought, when I heard that, I thought, boy, I would think that God would hear that. And in this man's case, about 2 weeks later, he said his cancer was gone. He got a cleared bill of health. And you'd think that was good, except it was only maybe 9 months later that he brought his wife into the youth room with the same story, only hers was much further along. And he knew that it would work again. And the kids gathered around, and they laid their hands on her, and they poured their hearts out in prayer. And this was an incredible woman. You know, she's the one that would greet everybody at the church door and know every one of their names. She was the one that was always there when you needed her, would always talk to you when you had a struggle. And that day, as they prayed over her and they said amen, it seemed like the next thing that happened was we had to say goodbye. I wish that when we could talk about God and his healing, we could know. We could know why it seems to work here and not there. And this topic is a hard one. When you have somebody who loses someone that they love, they battle with it. Sometimes the only way I can say that we can deal with it is you almost have to take these questions that we feel like we haven't got an answer to here on earth, and we're going to have to put them in a box. And we're going to have to save that question until we get to heaven, when we can really open that box and say, please, tell me what this was. Let me know how this worked. I got off a little bit. Okay, so we're at the Ark of the Covenant. In there was Aaron's rod, his staff. The next thing that's in there is the Ten Commandments. The perfect character of God is what some people have called it. When I was battling my dissertation and my doctoral defense, somebody was bringing up the fact that I was a Seventh-day Adventist and how do you take this into account? And I asked them back, I said, okay, so let's say you work at a Fortune 500 company and you have to hire a new person. And they came in, you had to pick somebody who kept the Ten Commandments or who openly told you that there were 3 of them they didn't keep, but they wouldn't tell you which 3. Which would be a safer bet to go with? And they said, well, you kind of got us on that one. Of course you're going to go with the Ten Commandments. I mean, the one who tries really hard to keep them. We say this is the perfect character. This is, if you follow this, you're connecting with God. What was Jesus teaching? Wasn't he teaching what God and his word was like? So if you look back to it, you have Aaron's rod, which is healing. Jesus started the day with healing. You have the Ten Commandments, which is teaching about God. You have Jesus who taught with God. The third thing in the ark is the jar of manna. Manna was when the children of Israel were in the desert following God. There was nothing to eat. They were crying out, how can we eat? And God provided manna when there was nothing. And you bring this back. Jesus, in his first miracle, provides food for the 5,000, even though there wasn't much of anything. So, as we're going through our doctoral look at this scripture, we'll jump to the next one. What did we learn? This is where you kind of wrap up the whole thing. What did we learn? And I thought of this. Okay, so as I think about what I learned, I think, how many times in my life, in my church, in my ministry, have I been Phillip? How many times when I've heard the challenge of God, we need to move forward. I was sure that I heard it. Maybe you heard the words come out, can we really afford this? I think we should be a little bit cautious here. Maybe we need to enter into this slowly, observing what's happening. There's a place. We need to be able to listen to the Phillips with us. God put them here. We need to listen to that advice. But we also need to hear Jesus. How many times in my personal life have I been Andrew? With church, with ministry? Have I come up with a solution that might work, but it's not really what God wanted, but would this do okay? We're trying, we're pushing in the right direction, and maybe, hopefully we'll get there one day. Maybe we could learn a lesson from the boy. The boy, he gave up what he needed for one day. Only let God return it to him. Are we better off giving up what we think we need for one day and letting God provide sometime than to try to strive for what we think that we need? Have we learned who God is, maybe in this, from what the Ark of the Covenant had? Or have we learned how Jesus taught in this miracle? Maybe through the Ark of the Covenant, which was yesterday, maybe through Jesus' teaching today, maybe through what we have coming tomorrow, we can learn that God is the same yesterday, he's the same today, and he's the same tomorrow. Maybe he's offering us all the same things that he was offering then. Come on. Is there a part of our story where is there a part of our story where we say, God, we are like every part of this story. We're trying to give you what's real. We're trying to believe. We're trying to be involved. We're trying to move forward. We're trying to be generous. We're trying to be smart stewards. We're trying to be creative with solutions. We're trying to even know you better. We're trying to have you in our life. But we feel like we can't see clear. We're not seeing what the total outcome would be. In fact, we're kind of feeling a little lost. And God, what we're asking for is, you don't have to turn on the lights and show us where we're going. You don't have to let us see it clearly. But what we want more than anything is to hold out our hand and have you take us and lead us through. Let us see your miracle today. You're our Father. You're our friend. I pulled in the driveway one night. It was late at night. And have you ever pulled in your driveway and said, this neighborhood is really dark tonight? Because that's what it was. I mean, it was black. And I was parked out in the driveway. I'm not sure why I didn't pull in the garage. Something was happening, and I was parked way out in the driveway. And my youngest daughter was there. And she said, Daddy, it's really dark up there. And I said, it is. It is really dark. And I don't want you to be scared. How about this? I'll leave the car running with all the lights on, and I'll run into the garage, and I'll turn the lights on there, and I'll come back, and I'll get you, and I'll take you into the house, and you'll be all fine. She said, you don't have to do that, Dad. You can shut off the car as long as you take my hand. As long as you take my hand, you can take me in. I won't be scared. Verse 14 says the people said, surely this is the prophet. Maybe this is the Son of God. Maybe this is God leading us who has come into our world. Maybe today it's our turn to remember who God is. Remember, he's the one who heals. He's the one who's perfect. He's the one who can provide. Maybe today the lesson that we need to learn about God is that we need to just take his hand and follow him into the night, knowing he is the God who we trust.
Amen.